Hey guys, Mystellianne here, and today I'm bringing you guys an ABC deck profile. Before we start, I'd just like to point out that 1, this is the rank 5 version of the deck. Personally, I believe it's better, but I'll get into that later. And second, we will have, this is post-Invasion of Venom, so we will have a few cards from that set in here, spoiler alert. But without further ado, let's get into it. So first, we have 3 copies of A Assault Core. A is one of the 3 monsters that you are kind of forced to play. But it's a decent card. I mean, it's 1900, so it gets over Joggin, and it protects your guys from monster effects when it's equipped to it. Next, we have B Buster Drake. B is probably the best of these 3. When it's equipped, it protects it from spells. And it's nice because you can instantly equip it off the field spell. I don't know. It's just a great card. And when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search one, which is how you do a lot of your plays. Then you have 3 copies of Seek Crush Wyvern. Again, this is probably, I mean, depending on your hand, this card can be as useful as B. The fact that it special summons one from your hand is nice, but it's not all entirely needed. However, it is great because it protects your guys from traps, and it has a nice 2000 defense. Then for the rest of the ABC engine, we have 3 Unit Hanger and 3 Terraforming. I'm going to profile the rest of the monsters later, but I just wanted to profile like engine by engine. So, because this deck does have like 3 different engines that you are playing. Then we have, so with these cards, this card is just like honestly insane. When you activate, you get to add one of these guys to your hand, and when one of them is summoned, you get to equip one from your deck. So you're basically playing 6 copies of the field spell. You want to see this, or not even want, you need to see this first turn. If you do, you pretty much like are in a great position. Even just activating this, adding A, summoning A, equipping B, and setting like a strike or something is a strong play because next turn you get to play for sure. I don't know how much to say about that card. It's just, other than it's just really good. Then for the other engines, we just have our gadgets, 2 of each. I was playing 3 originally, just so I could open Buster more consistently, but I realized that this deck really had some issues going second, and that's why I made some of the modifications that I did. So we're just playing 2 of each. I mean, they're good, and something that a lot of people don't realize is that when you summon them, or that you can only use each of their effects once per turn. I'm sorry, you can only use one of their effects per turn. So if you use the effect to summon and they like strike it, you don't get its effect when it's sent to the graveyard. But that's it for those guys. I mean, actually, they do start a lot of your plays. If you want to open like Tsukiyomi Buster in the turn 1, you just summon this guy, or one of them, and then summon your A or whatever it is that you added, and then make Tsukiyomi, and usually that's your gateway to making Buster first turn. If we're not making Buster through these guys, we are making it with this engine. So we're playing 3 Galaxy Soldier and 3 Transmodify. These cards are, in my opinion, this is what enables this to be better than the rank 4 build. The problem that this build had without some of my special techs is that it kind of lost to the mirror, but in every other matchup it was insanely good. And I solved that with some other cards in the deck, but I'd rather have more consistently win against the other matchups than just the mirror. I mean, this card is insane. Not only does it make Infinity, but I consider it an engine part of the deck. I mean, the fact that you discard 1 to summon it kind of seems like a minus, but it's really not because it lets you make Buster. Transmodify is great. Originally, I was playing Desires in this deck, but I cut it out because it kind of made these dead if you banished any of your Galaxy Soldiers, which, keep in mind, the deck can play just fine without the Galaxy Soldiers. If not, it just plays just like a regular rank 4 build, and you discard your Transmodifies off the Buster. However, I didn't want to make all 3 of them dead should I banish 2. So, I just cut out Desires, and now this card is fine every time. If you draw a second one, you just discard the second one off a Buster. Same for the third, or maybe you can bluff your opponent, whatever you need. This card's really good because it does send them from the field to the graveyard, so it triggers. Your targets will be usually the A, B, and C, but occasionally you will have to use one of the gadgets as your target. Which, I mean, you're not entirely in the best situation when you do that, but I mean, the option's there if you need it. It's kind of one of the reasons why I like the gadgets better than Photon Thrasher, because they're viable targets for Transmodify. Then that's it for the main engine part of the deck. Then we'll be going into like the disruption type cards. So this is our secret tech besides these maxis. I'm maining 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. A lot of people don't really see the value in this card, but I think it is insane. Especially now that Tree Toads come out, like, this card has a lot of value against, like, pretty much any deck that you're facing turn 1 or turn 0 bar Dark Lord. And a problem that I noticed with this deck is that it has a huge problem going second, especially the rank 5 build. It can't play through much back row. So this pretty much, like, mitigates all of that, along with, I'm maining Twin Twisters, but we'll get to that later. This kind of stops them from making Buster against you if you're in the mirror, or it stops like other decks from, or BA from making Dante, for example, so that they can't exactly like lock you out turn 1, and that you still have a viable line of play for next turn. So that's it for the monsters. Oh, and I just want to say one more thing about cherries. It does require you to run some space in the extra deck. However, the extra deck space in this deck is rather tight, but a lot of the cards that you think you're going to need, you really don't. So you can kind of cut those out for a few of the cards that you can hit off of this. As of now, I'm only playing Dante and Spirit. I'm not sure if Tree Toad's going to be that popular, but if it ends up like doing well in events, I may substitute Tree Toad in for one of my extra deck slots, just so this guy can hit it. Oh, and this deck, this guy also kind of loses to, what is this card? Pot of... I thought it was like Avidity, but it's Acquisitiveness. This card, because they just shuffle back in whatever you banish, or they can shuffle back in your stuff. So a lot of the times I will side this out games 2 and 3 for Chaos Hunter, because it kind of makes this like, it only makes this like half as useful as it usually is. But that's besides the point. Alright. Next we're going to our like kind of disruption type spells. We have 2 Twin Twisters and 1 Vanities. So I really hate Anti-Spell, because you need to get to that field spell as quickly as possible. So you're kind of forced to play the double Twin Twisters. I'm considering cutting one for a Book of Eclipse, but right now this seems to be showing more value. Regeki is just like an out to Vanities. I don't want to waste my Twin Twisters on it if I have Geki in my hand, because unless they chain it to an effect, then I will kind of have to waste the Twin Twisters. Otherwise, like, my gadget won't go through, or my Soldier or whatever. But usually I want to save this to out Geki, because it hits monsters and then Geki gets sent. Whereas these I want to save for actual back row, so that this deck can play through back row going second. You don't necessarily mind drawing this turn 1. You don't want to draw this turn 1, but you're kind of forced to just because it's a really good card. Then for the trap lineups, and this is where the cards from Evasion of Vengeance come in. First off, we have the Solemn Brigade. Not much to say about this, just Brigade's really good. Stops a lot of stuff. Originally, I was playing Anti-Spell in the mains over this, but I ended up taking them out. Mostly because Anti-Spell is not as prevalent as it once was. Blue Eyes isn't as amazing as it used to be, so therefore Anti-Spell isn't as amazing as it used to be. I'm still sided. You can still side the Anti-Spells, but I think Strike is just better in the main right now. Then we're playing 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. This card is actually just insane. If you guys don't know what it does yet, because it just came out, you get to declare a monster type, either Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Pendulum. And then for the rest of this turn, your opponent... neither player can special summon monsters of that type, and your opponent, or all monsters of that type, like that are already in the field, their effects are negated. So it kind of helps. For example, if your opponent is playing the mirror and they make a Diamond Dire to clear your back row, and usually you make Diamond Dire because you have 2 ABCs attached to it, and then they get sent to the grave so you can make Buster. But if they target this, you just chain it, negate its effect, and they can't make Buster because the second one didn't get sent to the graveyard. This card is just, it has so much value. There's a reason it's expensive, and it's a secret rare. But yeah, last card in the deck is just a Lone Vanities. Vanities is an insane card, not much else to say. It just has a lot of utility. Even if you're going second, which, with this build of the deck, you don't mind going second as much. But, like, even going second, you can, you'll have a place. You can just set this anyway. Then on to the extra deck. We're playing the obligatory 3 copies of Buster. Card is actually just insane. The fact that you can contact these from the graveyard is incredible. Free, discard to pot or to banish. And I've seen a lot of people lately, because they're fearing like Gamma Seal or any of the other kaijus, in their opponent's standby phase. Once they make this, they tag back out, and then they get a plus off the field spell. Even though they don't get to banish, it's a nice, like, safe, I guess you could say, out to the kaijus, so that they can't just, like, get over this and you don't get anything, like, any value off of it. So if your opponent, or if you think your opponent is playing kaijus, I would advise considering to do that. Then we have our other cherries targets, the one Dante and the one Spirit Dragon. Even though Blue Eyes isn't as prevalent as it once was, if you're going second, you kind of need to cherry this. If you're going first, like this card just like destroys Blue Eyes. Like they need alternative dragon to be able to do anything, so you just summon this, and whenever they make alternative, you just banish it immediately, and they can't do anything. But these two cards are just to stop like the other decks. If you cherry like BA, you win, because you can get all like you can play around all their other rank 3s. Spirit Dragon, you just want to get over like, or you want to mitigate like the disadvantage of going second against Blue Eyes. I am trying to find, or I'm going to try and find room for a Tree Toad if they end up being somewhat popular, but as of right now, I don't think it's completely necessary. I did pull one off the sneak peek, so I could probably play it if I wanted to. Then for the Regularity Monsters, we have the one Dweller. The card isn't like amazing. You don't make it that often, but like you're kind of like forced into playing this just if you play against certain types of decks, BA, Mermail, whatever it may be. You're just forced to play this. Then for our like advantage building Exceed monsters, you have Tsukuyomi and Geargigan. Tsukuyomi's like insane. People believe that you should just play this in the rank 4 build, but I love this card in the rank 5 build. Going first, you can combo this with like so many different things. It lets you draw into your engine cards. It lets you draw into your traps. You definitely want to be playing this card. Geargigan is just like a safe +1. Not really much else I could say about that. Well, actually, one thing that is notable is that this card searches Cycle Reader. And if you want to side into Cycle Reader, or I know my friend is maining one Cycle Reader, because it's searchable off Geargigan, it really helps against the mirror match or against Blue Eyes. Even though Cycle Reader isn't as great as it was like a few weeks or months ago. But yeah, these are your advantage building Exceed monsters. Then for sort of like removal, we have one Castel, one Diamond Dire, and as of right now, I'm testing one Paladynamo. Castel is just great, gets rid of Floodgates, anti-spell, you hate that card, so you need to get rid of it. Diamond Dire gets rid of like pretty much any back row, and I think Diamond Dire is great because I used to not like this card, but now I think it's great because you can overlay 2 of your ABC guys, so you can like overlay these 2 into Diamond Dire, use its effect, pop something, and now you have 2 ABCs in your graveyard. Like I can't think of anything like better than that, especially like once you set up Buster during turn 1, then your opponent does something, then you tag out during their end phase and you make Diamond Dire, and you just keep building advantage like that. Because the mentality behind doing that is you have these 2 guys on the field already, so if you don't like, if you just contact into Buster, like they could do something about it, but if you Diamond Dire, then you get to clear one back row and still go into Buster. So it's kind of like a +1 if you think of it that way. Then Paladynamo, if you don't want to play the Paladynamo, which it's perfectly understandable, I would play a second Diamond Dire just because you really want to clear through that back row. But I'm testing the Paladynamo for now because in the situations that it's better than Diamond Dire and Castel, it does a lot more, specifically because you draw one when it's destroyed by a battle card effect and sent to the graveyard. But I think this card just has, it doesn't have as much utility, but if it, like in the times that it does, it's a lot better. Then for the rest of the Exceeds, we have the Utopia Package and the Infinity Package. This card just lets you get over a lot of problem cards if you can't attack over them for some reason, even though you have like a 3k beater. And then these 2 are just because like they're amazing. I mean, this you're forced to, but this is just amazing. Galaxy Soldier enables this. And I mean, who wouldn't want to like end with a turn 1 field of these 2 with like a Strike and Vanity set? I think that's insane, and I don't understand why people don't want to play this card. Personally, I think that the build with this, or my build specifically, is more consistent than the rank 4 build because rank 4 build plays 2 of each gadget, and it plays 4 Photon Thrasher, 3 of the actual card and 1 Rhoda. So that's 8 ways to make Buster turn 1 with Tsukuyomi. Whereas this deck plays the 4 gadgets, 3 Galaxy Soldier, and 3 Transmodify. So that's 10 ways. So you're making this card like 25% more than they are. Or you're making Buster turn 1 25% more than they are, which I don't understand why people think that's less consistent, but whatever. Then the side deck, I mean, you really can tailor your side deck to like your locals or wherever you may be playing. So I'm not going to go through like my side deck because that's just, you know, adapted to the locals that I play at. But I will go through some side deck cards that you can be playing like when you go to an event. So one is Chaos Hunter. I mean, card is like actually really good right now. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like it has a lot of value against certain decks, especially in the mirror. Now that people are siding into what is it, Pot of Acquisitiveness. I don't know why they changed the name from Avidity. It sounded a lot simpler, but now that they're playing this, it kind of mitigates the use of cherries. So game 1, no one's gonna be maining this, so you want to keep the cherries in, which is why I think it's really good to have cherries in the main deck. But games 2 and 3, you kind of want to side the cherries out for the Chaos Hunter, because it like makes Avidity not as useful. And I mean, if they want to Avidity you so that you can't tag out with Buster, like okay, that's fine. But it's only half as useful now, and I think Chaos Hunter accomplishes a similar purpose to cherries as locking them out for a turn. And this is even better than cherries in games 2 and 3 because it has a 2500 body, whereas cherries you just discard it. Next card is Gamma Seal. I mean, you kind of just, I mean, Kaijus have been good for a while now. I just do want to go over something. A lot of people like the sticky string one, Humongous, but I personally like Gamma Seal better because one, Gear Gigan gets to run over, is 22, Gear Gigan's 23, whereas sticky string I believe is 24, so Gear Gigan can't run over it. And also the simple, like, I'm sure you've heard this before, but if you're playing against Blue Eyes, like, if you can't get over this during the turn, like you're already 2 behind to the point where even if they do make a rank 8, like, you're still done anyway. You still lose. So I think the fact that you can attack over it with Gear Gigan is much more useful than the fact that it's level 8. Then we're playing the one Cycle Reader. Or not we're playing, but like you can side the Cycle Reader. The card isn't as good as like it was a few weeks or months ago. Now that stuff like Tree Toad is coming out, like Tree Toad Heroes, you don't necessarily need this card as much. But it is worth noting that it is searchable off Gear Gigan. So if you do want to side it or be like my friend in main 1, that's perfectly fine. It does help against Blue Eyes and the mirror. Then like you want to play the 3rd copy of Twin Twisters probably. I mean, if you're just playing against heavy backrow decks, you might want to side System Down into like for the mirror. It is I will say that it is a lot more useful against this build because it does hit Infinity, but the card does have you do have your outs to this card. You'll see later, like I'm playing this. It's a really good card, but you know it's not like it doesn't have outs to it. Then you can play Acquisitiveness or whatever Avidity. The card is just like I want to say it's a 1-for-1, and your opponent basically loses like a tag out from a Buster, or you get your cards back from cherries. I don't know. It just it's very like utilitarian. Then for like our final few cards that you can side, the anti-spells. If you know you're going first and I don't know, like you're playing against Blue Eyes or the mirror, you kind of want to side this in. It's not as great against the mirror as it is against Blue Eyes, but stalling them from activating the field spell for a turn could have a lot of uses. And it also is great against Metal Foes. Then the last card that I'm like considering that you should consider siding is Union Scramble. This card, a lot of people like Magnet Reapers better, but I think even though this is trap, it is much better because it has a lot more utility. I'm sure you've heard me say utility a lot of times throughout this deck profile, but the card, okay, Magnet Reverse just targets your Buster and brings it back. And while it is great, this brings the 3 monsters back. So if you can bring these 3 back, that's 4,300. Is that 43? That is 4,600 points of damage. I don't know why you wouldn't go for that. Like anytime you could. It isn't out to like. I want to say, if wow, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm sorry. System down. If they system down you, that's why I said like the card does have its outs. If they system down you, you can bring them back with this. Kind of makes it like irrelevant. I was at a regionals and I was playing my opponent and they system downed me, and I activated Union Scramble, summon these 3 back, and they're like, oh, like crap, I just wasted my system down. Like now you have a lot more advantage than I do. I just lost a card. You just got these 3 back. Like what am I gonna do? And they lost, of course. So those are the few cards that you can play. in your side deck. And that will conclude it for this type of deck profile. I might do a video in the future detailing a few combos that you can do or the general play style of the deck. Sorry that I haven't uploaded in a while, I just haven't had any motivation or a good deck to upload. This is the first deck that I've actually had the, mindset that I actually want to buy it. Picked all this stuff up early. Galaxy Soldiers for like 10, Trans Modifiers for less than $1. Picked up these guys for like 10, Cherries for 12. Just got a lot of value out of this deck, so I figured I'd just play it and profile it for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment. And yeah, guys, see you later. Peace.